Hi, welcome to TNT. It's the 28th of January. Somehow struggled our way through this first month. There's been a lot of news. Every day I jump on, particularly the last few days, and just as regards world news, a lot of big stories. The big one yesterday about DeepSeek, I've downloaded it, and I think there's going to be a lot of questions asked, and big changes made, I would suggest, as a result of this big news. Anyway, I'll let you sort that one out. Plenty of other news sources that will be providing you with that. I'm here to provide Thai news, and it's brought to you by 5-Star Marine Phuket.com and also Beach House Thailand. Chinese New Year starts tomorrow. It's the year of the snake. Yes, I will have some Chinese New Year shirts. Let's get stuck into it. Tourists swarm Yaowarat Road for Chinese New Year. And as the Lunar New Year celebration is about to take place on Wednesday, the 29th of January, several travellers have visited the Bangkok Chinatown for shopping, dining or worshipping Chinese gods for prosperity. And to celebrate the 50th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Thailand and China, the Lunar New Year Festival in Yaowarat runs until February the 9th. Lunar New Year, Chinese New Year, it's the same thing. I usually refer to it as Chinese New Year. No disrespect intended, it's just what I know it as, but you'll see both used in the various media. I had some guests arrive yesterday and they said they'd been in Bangkok and in Chinatown, Yaowarat Road, during the weekend, and it was madness and plenty of great food and celebrations. So expect that to happen from tomorrow. Even locally, I know the big Chinese dragon will be out and they'll be going and blessing the various businesses around the town. So it's a good time of the year. This particular part of PHANG has a strong Chinese Thai community going all the way back to the tin mining days, and got a lot of Chinese influence. So we do expect to see plenty of Chinese New Year celebrated. Okay, to our next story, speaking of dragons. And we'll start the report with the PatiaNews.com. Operation Dragon Slayer busts 40 Chinese businesses in Chonburi for alleged money laundering. And the CIB has launched a major crackdown named Operation Dragon Slayer to dismantle over 40 Chinese businesses accused of using cryptocurrency to launder money and exploit foreign tourists. So let's check the modus operandi here. The CIB officers received intelligence about a group of Chinese nationals allegedly involved in call centre scam gangs. And they were reportedly using cryptocurrency to purchase properties under company names, which were then rented out to other Chinese tourists. And these businesses offered travel services and packages. They received payments through various channels, including digital assets, foreign currency or cash. Investigators found several Chinese tourists residing in the properties, which are currently under examination. They also uncovered a pool villa purchased by the suspects, waiting to be transformed into a rental business valued at over 20 million baht. Further investigations revealed that there are over 40 similar companies operating in Chonburi linked to the network. Now, there's a bit more to this, and it partly involves the crackdown, or at least the exposure of a lot of these scam gang operations just across the borders of Thailand, in Cambodia, Laos, and particularly in Myanmar, in the areas just south of Mirawaddy along the river there. So as they start cracking down and closing down these centres by cutting off electricity supplies, telecommunication supplies, which are coming from Thailand somehow, a lot of these Chinese gangs are now moving into Thailand and trying to rent out large areas of properties and keep on running their scam gang operations, like in full sight here in Thailand. And the CIB is urging the public not to support foreign nationals exploiting legal loopholes in Thailand to register companies. Such actions could lead to criminal charges, including imprisonment. And furthermore, those involved in cryptocurrency trading must obtain proper licenses from the Security and Exchange Commission or face penalties. So cryptocurrency is becoming a great vehicle for things like money laundering. Just a little bit more from another version of the story in the Bangkok Post. And police raids target Chinese criminal ownership of tourist villas. Investigators have found proxy owners registered for more than 40 companies, fronting for the Chinese owners. So the CIB Immigration Bureau really got their hands full trying to dismantle all this at the moment. It's been building up over the last 2 or 3 years. It's probably going to take at least that to start to unravel it. Oh, we can't get through this time of the year without talking briefly about the air pollution problem. Now, it is starting to make international headlines, and this sort of thing will really start getting a bit of action back here in the land of smiles. Let's go to the BBC. And their story, Bangkok tackles smog with week-long free public transport. So a video story there from the BBC, and Thai authorities have made public transport in Bangkok free for 1 week in an attempt to reduce the number of private cars on the roads and tackle air pollution. Smog has already led to hundreds of school closures and employees working from home. Now, as we'll see in just a moment, the air has magically improved over the last 2 days since this free public transport started. However, it's nothing to do with the free public transport. There's been a change in the weather, which we'll check in just a moment. But we go to another story in the Bangkok Post. Government to step up on haze. And the Prime Minister's poised to issue further instructions at a cabinet meeting today to combat the haze problem. And the Foreign Minister's been asked to hold talks with ASEAN to seek regional cooperation to tackle the crisis under existing regional frameworks. Given that a lot of the burning happens in Cambodia, in Laos and in Myanmar, and depending on which way the wind's blowing, it can adversely affect Thailand. The Prime Minister will also issue additional instructions to address the haze crisis, focusing on managing forest fires in national parks and dealing with agricultural burning. And Mr Anutin, that's Anutin Charnvirakul, the Deputy Prime Minister, who was in Chiang Mai on Monday to inspect the management of forest fires, stressed that the government's intensifying its efforts to address the ongoing haze crisis. He said the primary cause of pollution is human activity, especially after the change in agricultural practices. He said the authorities must enforce relevant laws, and those who violate them should be fully aware of the consequences. He says Thailand is constantly facing annual natural disasters. It starts with haze, followed by drought, floods and cold weather, and the cycle repeats every year, he said. We can't continue to live like this. Prevention is key, and the first step is to enforce the law, which can be done immediately. Now, Anutin's been in government since 2019, so had nearly 6 years to do something about this. It's all very well for him to speak out about the issue at this stage, but he has had his hands on the wheels of power for 6 or so years. So let's quickly check the iqair.com map, and today the white circle Bangkok, the red circle up in the north of Thailand, the blue arrow to give you some perspective is Phuket, and yes, things are a whole lot better than they were last week. Still a lot of room for improvement though. As we check the weather with nationthailand.com weather forecast, cold weather, strong winds, temperature dropping. And there certainly has been some fresh northeasterly winds flowing across the peninsula over the last few days. Let's check the news. Temperatures in the northeastern region expected to decrease by 3 to 5 degrees, and temperatures in the northern, central and eastern regions, including Bangkok and surrounding areas, will drop by 2 to 4 degrees. The strengthening northeastern monsoon over the Gulf of Thailand and the southern region will bring increased rainfall, with some areas experiencing heavy rain. Wave conditions in the Gulf of Thailand and the Andaman Sea will intensify. Small boats in the Gulf of Thailand should refrain from leaving shore during January the 27th and the 28th. Here we can see some quite fresh easterly, northeasterly winds flowing through the Gulf of Thailand and into the Andaman Sea. And just checking on the rain situation, really not much to see, just a little bit on the west coast of the Gulf of Thailand at the moment, otherwise fairly dry. And to one of those stories that just refuses to go away. From nationthailand.com, no evidence Taxon was too ill for prison. This according to an ex-police chief. No concrete evidence has emerged to support claims that the former Prime Minister Thaksin was too ill to serve his prison sentence. This according to a former National Police Chief. He'd been invited by the NACC to testify on the case for a second time, so more details may come to light. The NACC is investigating allegations of misconduct by state officials who may have facilitated Taxon's prolonged stay in a VIP suite at the Police General Hospital. A committee's been set up to gather evidence and interview witnesses. And just as a way of background, if you're not aware of the story, Taxon, who returned to Thailand in 2023, was sentenced to 8 years in prison for 3 separate cases, yet he didn't spend a single night behind bars, being instead transferred to a premium ward on the 14th floor of the hospital. And Taxon remained in the VIP room for about 6 months before being granted parole and discharged from hospital. And Sri Pisut added that the Justice Minister's claim that there were receipts showing Taxon's hospitalisation didn't prove that the former Premier was actually critically ill. And if he were critically ill, he said, he wouldn't have been transferred to the 14th floor, but would have been taken to the emergency room first. And he also said that he'd met Taxon in his suite on the 14th floor, where the former Premier allegedly asked him to withdraw a complaint against the ex-Prime Minister Thaksin. He said that Taxon showed no signs of severe illness. So that saga just keeps on chewing away at the edges of Thai media, whilst the former Prime Minister, Thaksin is lobbying and rallying up in northern Thailand for this week's provincial elections. Well, of course, on behalf of his daughter, the Prime Minister of Thailand. Hopefully you're a bit more up to date with some of the main stories around Thailand. Please support our sponsors. Please subscribe to the channel, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow.